Hi, I'm Katie Dietz, Marketing Coordinator at Nurses PRN. Although National Heart Month is in February, we think it's vital that the conversation about this disease continues throughout the year. Today, we have the great fortune to hear from Annie Bongiorno from the American Heart Association. Annie will share a touching story about heart disease and how it has affected her family.
My name is Annie Bongiorno. I am the Corporate Events Director for the Fox Cities for the American Heart Association. My son was born by planned C-section because my daughter was a crash C-section. We had an additional ultrasound before we had him because my husband, who is a pediatrician, had a ton of peds cardiology and just had this feeling that something wasn't quite right. The ultrasound that we had revealed that there was nothing to be worried about. Had him by planned C-section on a Friday afternoon, and he had APGAR scores of 9 and 10. So we thought, just like every parent, you know, you have your baby, you have the great APGAR scores, you hear the cry, everything's good. And about 48 hours after, we thought something wasn't just quite right. They thought that might be related to the circumcision, and they really were dismissive. At one point, I was complaining enough that the nurse said, we'll take him to the nursery, we'll check him out, see what happens, and you just take a nap. And so I went to sleep, and the nurse woke me in tears, saying, we need to call your husband, something's wrong with the baby. My husband was 5 minutes from the hospital. He got to the hospital, was able to intubate him, get a blood gas on him, and realized that something was terribly wrong. He was transferred then to Chicago by life flight, and that's kind of where our story begins. The first day, he underwent a procedure called a Rashkin's procedure, where they actually caused the holes in the heart to be a little bit bigger to allow oxygenation to happen. And then within 3 days, we were going into surgery. His defect includes transposition of the great vessels, pulmonary stenosis, interrupted aortic arch, and double outlet right ventricle. So it was a number of things that they wanted to work on. They took him into surgery, and really within about an hour after they had him open, had come back to us and said, we need to abort the surgery. There's a yellow fluid in the pericardium, and we don't think that's a good thing. They aborted the surgery. He went into renal failure, DIC. The cardiac team took themselves off the service. We assumed he wasn't going to make it. He did. And then we decided to stage his surgeries instead of doing one at a time. We were sent home after that surgery to kind of wait for the next one. We were home for about a week to see if he could grow a little bit and not get sick in the hospital. We went back in. He had his, let's see, that would have been his aortic arch fix, which didn't go textbook either. We were in about almost 3 months after that. They did send us home again. He still had pulmonary stenosis, but they really wanted him to be out of the hospital environment to see if he could thrive. Within about 3 months, we took him in for a general check, and they didn't let us leave. He needed emergency surgery, and we had no idea that he was that sick. So that was his fourth open heart. He had a subsequent surgery when he was in second grade. It was textbook. It was the first time anything was textbook. So he went in, he was home in 7 days, he was bored in 8 days, and now he's a 15-year-old who plays soccer and is getting his driver's license. So that's why I do what I do.